through the Moving for Better Balance program. For questions and additional information, email cmullins@ymcanwnc.org.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC. Breaking news, expert analysis, and the stories that matter most, all in one place.
I totally acknowledge seeing flames is a scary situation.
WSIC News Talk Now.
Well, happy Friday, everybody. We are coming to you live from the WSIC News Station here. I am Senator Vicki Sawyer, heavily medicated from a fantastic summer cold. So I hold myself, please don't hold me liable for any of my flub ups that I make today, as I will blame it on the Dayquil. And to my right, I have the lovely, fabulous, amazingly talented young superstore, my daughter, Sydney Sawyer.
Hello, everybody.
Sydney, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Senator.
Oh, yeah. Well, we around the kitchen, Sydney loves to cook. And then I don't really enjoy cooking, but it seems like I'm there a lot, right, Sid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so she and I are messing around the kitchen a lot, and she will bring up conversation about politics, and she'll ask me things, and we talk, and sometimes we agree.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't.
Right.
A lot of times we don't,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. But we do have these healthy conversations. And it came to me the other day. I was like, you know what? It would be nice to have a different perspective on this radio show so we can hear from someone who is 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say that you eat and breathe politics like some folks.
No.
But you definitely pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know and maybe pick your brain, and you can talk about some things that we talk about around the kitchen table,
mm-hmm.
and to see what's on your brain, because you have voted ever since you were 18.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I prodded you
Yes.
because you needed to go vote for your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is fine.
Did you vote for me?
Yes. Happy voter and
Okay.
supporter.
Thank you. But so let me tell a little about yourself. And then in the first part of the show, we're going to talk about what it's like to have a mom like me.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, and ugly. You can say it. What is it like to be a kid of a politician? But let me tell the listening audience a little bit about you. You're 22 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and you're finishing up your final semester at school at UNC Charlotte for
Mhm.
business.
Yep.
Go Niners.
Yes.
Yes. You also have a passion for real estate. And congratulations, you recently passed your North Carolina real estate exam.
Mm-hmm. Provisional broker in North Carolina as of a couple days ago.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
fantastic. And we're working on your first deal already. So
Yes.
so we're excited for that. You also are going to get your insurance license,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Coming soon.
Coming soon
Once the
to
website is not down.
you. The website is down for her
Yes.
insurance license, so she's working on that. But really, you're doing this because you want to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
What brought you to that idea about why you wanted to work for yourself and have your own business?
So I think being a business major, you see a lot of competition. A lot of people are in the same boat that you are.
Okay.
A lot of people go into college undecided or decide that they're just going to get a general business degree, but they don't really know what that means. But obviously, it's okay to find that out as you go. But once you start getting into your sophomore or junior year, you start looking for internships and you start looking at potential hiring opportunities, and everybody else is looking for the same exact one. And I just had the idea that I don't want to be working at, a huge company like Bank of America or
Mhm.
Wells Fargo, although they do give fantastic opportunities for young people. But I think I have enough confidence in myself that I want to be in charge of, climbing the ladder of my career per se. I
Right.
don't want to be one of 100 interns or one of 300 interns or
Mhm.
employees that just got, shipped in
Right.
to a huge company. So I just want to have some more skin in the game, I think.
Good.
Mhm.
Well, hold that thought, because we do have someone who's calling into the show. I want to say thank you so much for calling in. You're on with Senator Vicki Sawyer and her daughter, Senator Vicki Sawyer and her daughter, Sydney. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Sydney and Vicki. This is William. How are y'all? Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. So good to hear your voice. What's on your brain today?
Well, since you've been out, there's been a lot happen in politics and a lot happen in our life and our world, as you well know. And the women seem to be in the spotlight, particularly in the law enforcement. And I've looked at the videos, I've looked at and heard and listened to all the criticism that's been going on with the women in law enforcement. And I just want to put my voice out there from a man's perspective, and that is that we need to take the time to possibly put ourselves in their shoes, and maybe we would have a different perspective, and maybe it wouldn't be so much criticism. Those women in particular that day that happened in the assassination attempt with Donald Trump were in the heat of the moment, and we don't know how we would act until we're put in that situation. The reason why I speak of these women, I know one of those women that were there that day, and particularly helped Donald Trump get off that stage.
Wow.
My wife was friends with her, and we know her. So it's a different perspective when you know someone. But even if you don't know someone, you need to stand back and just let the law enforcement do their jobs. And I've talked to Darren Campbell over the last few days too, and he's in the same agreements. And of course, he's been in situations like that, and unfortunately, he'll probably be in some again in the future because it's just in the times we're in now. But I was married to a woman for 32 years, and I wasn't the best of husbands. And I grew up and raised around men that thought of women just being in the kitchen. Well, that's not the case anymore. Women are out in the public working with men in high-profile jobs, just like men are, and it just needs to be accepted. I'm glad that I come to terms with that and realized that before my wife passed, because I'm thankful that I was realizing that women are a good purpose in life and deserve more than they get sometimes. Even the one that's running for the presidency now, I'm not on her side of things, but she needs to have some respect as well, even though she's not getting it. But that's probably partially on her behalf, more so than maybe people that are wanting to vote for her or not vote for her.
Yeah.
But it's just the way I look at it. That's the way my take on it. And I just wanted to put that out there, especially to you, Vicki, because you are a woman in politics and a woman in a man's world, so to speak. And I applaud you for what you do, and I appreciate what you do, and I respect it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. I appreciate that comment. Thank you so much for the call, William, and for sharing your personal experience. You know, Sydney, let's bring that back to you. When you look at women who in your own career, does it define you? Do you think of women differently? You know, you have a lot of good, close friends who are women, and you guys are talking about stuff going on. What do you think about that? We only got a few minutes left here, but we got 1 minute left. So give me an idea of what you're thinking about when you see women in politics and when men and women say things about them that aren't very nice.
I think some men feel threatened by women in power, and I think that's why there's still some sort of argument between the two. But really, I don't see any difference when I see a woman in power or a man in power. It's more just what they stand for and what they do and how they handle themselves.
I agree. I think your generation has got it right. I don't think you look at someone's identity as what there's going to be, how good they're going to be in their career or their job, whether that's their race or their gender or where they come from, if they sound like me or they sound like they came from New Jersey. So I want to thank William for the call. We will be right back after this short break. You're on with Senator Vicki Sawyer, and we're just saying.
There's more We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicki Sawyer on the way from 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Finally, some drier weather arriving just in time for the upcoming weekend. We'll still see scattered clouds today for our Friday and an isolated shower or thunderstorm can't be ruled out the afternoon and evening. There will likely be less of them, though, than what we've seen in recent days. High temperatures today back in those low 80s, falling into the upper 60s overnight around the farms and outlying spots. Most of us will dip down to around 70. For our Saturday, sunshine is back with high temperatures in the mid-80s. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Greystone Lodge in Boone.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live continues their free music series on Thursday. 2 months ago, Ghostface Brewing and Waves Entertainment hosted the Battle of the Bands. The champion that night, Fortune 5, makes their Langtree Live debut this Thursday, July 25th. Come on out to Langtree Lake Norman to see and hear the Battle of the Bands champion, Fortune 5, this Thursday with music beginning at 7 p.m. The Live Under the Oaks concert series continues on Friday at Birkdale Village in Huntersville. Come enjoy the music of The Highway with their dynamic and high-energy show. Red Rocks will have beverages on site, and the Birkdale restaurants are ready for your dinner service. Bring your chairs and blankets for the Highway concert at Birkdale Village on Friday, beginning at 6 p.m. The 8th annual Dog Island Jam takes place this Saturday on Lake Norman. Star from The Voice, John Sullivan presents the summer's must-see concert. Waves Entertainment will bring a stage, sound system, and LED walls to, you guessed it, an island on Lake Norman. Sully and Friends headline the concert on Saturday. Untie your boat or call your friends with boats and enjoy the Dog Island Jam concert on Lake Norman this Saturday. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway reaches the series finale. The 10-race series title night is on Tuesday, July 30th, with NASCAR night sponsored by the NASCAR Hall of Fame. See the champions crowned and the legends and bandoleros. Don't miss the next generation of racing superstars honing their skills and rising through the ranks. Gates open at 5 p.m. with the green flag waving at 6. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets, details, and information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Now more We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicky Sawyer on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, welcome back to We're Just Saying with your heavily medicated Senator Vicky Sawyer as the summer cold rages, and her amazing daughter, Sydney Sawyer. And I think that's the cold medicine, Sid, that's kind of catching me up. But, you know, I wanted to give you this opportunity now, the good, the bad, the ugly, to talk about what it's like as a young person to watch their mom, or maybe their dad, but in your instance, your mom, be in political office. And especially when I started, it was in 2000 and 18. I ran for office in 16. So it's been almost 10 years now that I've been active in the party. So tell me about like growing up around that and what your influences were, and you don't have to be kind, but I would appreciate it if you are. No, I'm just kidding. Go right ahead.
No, I don't really have anything bad to say. I think the only bad or ugly thing would be obviously the threats that we have received in the past, or, you know, some kind of inherent biases from teachers like we were talking about before.
What do you mean by that? Like, did you experience that when you were going through school?
So in high school, a little bit, but definitely not as much in college. In high school, I think that you're very locally respected. So even if somebody would disagree, they wouldn't bring it up to me or other students, which I think is, you know, a good thing. In college, it was a little bit different.
Yeah.
Somehow some professors got wind that I had a Republican mom, and I think that might have backfired on me a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, nothing that I couldn't handle.
No, it's okay. Tell me about that. So,
it's just, once again, obviously educators and Republicans don't have the best relationship historically.
Yeah.
I don't think that they knew what you were about. I don't think that they studied you enough or looked you up enough before that they expressed their opinions about you. But once again, it was not a huge deal. It was subtle. It's fine.
Yeah. So, when you started out at Appalachian and now you're at UNC Charlotte, so you've got a flair of a couple different kind of universities and stuff. We, in my friend group, talk about what it's like to be a conservative in college. Now, let's back up before we go to that. I don't know. I would consider you conservative, but you're not what some traditional, what you would say is conservatives are. In other
Mhm.
words, you're conservative. Well, let me have you define this, but I feel like when we're having a conversation, you're conservative to the where you're more of like a libertarian.
Mhm.
You're like, get out of my life, government, stay away,
Mhm.
pave the roads, but don't worry about what happens in the bedroom, but
Mhm.
worry about what's in the boardroom. Is that how you define yourself?
Yeah, I would say so. Obviously, I'm not really old enough to form that much of an opinion on being a conservative,
Right.
because what I think that I stand for, I haven't necessarily experienced firsthand. But yeah, I would consider myself a libertarian. I think Republicans get a bad rap on being really harsh on social issues, which isn't always the case, obviously, with you and a lot of
Mhm.
people that you associate with. I just think that there's a huge social divide between Republicans and Democrats, and what that actually means, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I'm unsure. Obviously, social media and the algorithm is a personal echo chamber. So whatever you like is getting flooded into your feed. So
Mhm.
if you like one thing about Trump, then that's all you get. If you like one thing about Biden, then that's all you get. So this might be something that I need to improve on. But a lot of my opinions have been formed via social media, which is not good.
No, it's okay.
And
No,
unfortunately, I think a lot of youth is feeling that way as well.
Sid, I think that's a fair statement, and it's very. I'm proud of you for even talking about that because, quite frankly, I think most Americans are that way. It's
Mhm.
not just you; it's everybody, and I think it's very. I'm proud of you to even look at that, see where you're getting your information. But when you do see stuff online or social media that's in your algorithm, I mean, we talk about it, but where do you
Mhm.
go? I mean, are you looking at TikTok? Are you looking at
So I deleted TikTok a long time ago, but I still use Instagram and Instagram Reels, which is very similar.
Mhm.
Um, I try to follow quote unquote unbiased news sources,
Mhm.
but a lot of where I get my information and a lot of where I know my friends get their information
Yeah.
is secondhand reviews of those news sources. Um, and like we were talking about earlier today, I think that social media has caused such a divide between the left and the right. And I just don't even know where I stand. I
That's
don't know
okay.
where I can stand. I mean, even if I try to do the most research or try to educate myself, I just think all this inherent bias is really getting in the way of me forming a correct opinion.
Yeah, no, and that again, I think that is so smart of you to be aware about that because I find myself in that same loop.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know a lot about. I know a lot about state government because I'm in it and I
Mhm.
see what's going on. But when it comes to like at the government at the federal level, especially with like Trump and Biden and
Mhm.
Harris and everything that's going on right now, I don't know who to believe. And it seems like
Right.
everyone has an opinion, and now everybody's opinion is out on social media.
Yeah.
And then it is this crazy confluence of like fact, not fact. Where are
Mhm.
you at? So, Sid, I think you're absolutely the same way as most every American is. It has nothing to do with youth. But
Mhm.
when you and your friends are talking about what is a Democrat, what is a Republican, what is those conversations? What are those conversations like?
So, from my personal perspective and my friends' perspective that are obviously very active on social media, as like you said, most people are, I think Democrats and liberal are considered to be the social voice,
Mhm.
standing for social issues, which is fantastic. But I don't know a lot about policy.
Mhm.
That might just be something that my algorithm has made me not know about. But I don't know anything about policy really. And I think Republican is kind of just stand your ground, build the wall, this and that, just everything,
Mhm.
all the far right and the far left that you hear about in the media because nobody reports on the middle. Nobody reports on facts. It's all
Mhm.
like what happened with Hunter Biden this past weekend, what or who is he doing? So I just think I don't know. I need to all of us, my friends and I need to take it upon ourselves to, search elsewhere for
So let's
information.
talk a little bit. When you talk about policy, that is something that I really enjoy. I call myself a policy wonk, right? So I
Mhm.
don't enjoy the far right and left battling each other on um, any platform. But as a young person who's getting ready to graduate college,
Mhm.
what are things that you are seeing and you and your friends are experiencing that really are affecting you?
So something that is affecting us is affordable housing. There's not a lot of affordable housing available in our specific area, or not as much as we thought there was.
You just had some friends who tried to rent an apartment or in a house. So tell me, what was the average rent in Mooresville or that kind of area? Like, what was it per month for a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom?
So a 2-bedroom apartment in this area would be around minimum $1,300 a month. I would say for 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, $1,300 a
If
month.
not more, 1,700. I know in
Seven-
Mooresville,
yes.
1,300 more. Actually, look, our producer's saying even higher.
Yes.
Because you were looking in Catawba County and in Statesville North, but down here around the lake, it's about $2,000.
I didn't even set my Zillow search to around the lake. I knew I couldn't afford that.
Right. So if you want to live around Lake Norman and you're a young person, you're looking at $2,000 a month, maybe $1,700 a month minimum. That's not even talking about what other stuff like groceries, and insurance, and the cost of living is just absolutely crazy. Is that kind of what your friends are talking about now?
Yeah. A big conversation is you graduated college and now what? Like, I feel like there wasn't a good enough, I mean, considering that we pay for an education, I just feel like there wasn't a good enough setup for us. Like, what to do once you graduate. I feel like they're just trying to get you there, get you through, and be like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
But the cost of living is absolutely ridiculous for young people, I would say now. Obviously, it's not that case for everybody, and I would just have appreciated a little bit more, I don't know.
Like, so I think you're trying to be nice. So let me help you out here.
Trying
So,
to
in
filter
the
a little
last
bit.
few minutes, last 3 minutes we've had in the show. So Sydney is just went to real estate school, pre-licensing school, and passed her exam, as we said earlier. During those classes, she called me one day, and not in a panic, but in actually kind of in a quippy, funny way. She said, "Mom, I'm having an existential crisis," and I was like, "Oh God!" As a parent, you're like, what is this? What's going on? And she's like, I have been in college for the past 4 years, I never once learned about a credit score or how to set up an LLC or how to do anything about insurance or how to actually do personal finance. She said, I'm sitting here in this real estate class and I'm learning the skills of life. And not one time did anybody in college teach me that.
Right. That was what I was trying to get at. Exactly. I feel like I didn't get the education that I need to start my life out post-college until I took that real estate class. I just don't know how to manage my own finances. I mean, I do budget somewhat, but like you said, I think it's difficult. I think, you have to seek out outside education to kind of understand how to set your life up. And in college, I think they're focused on management of already successful companies. I think that's what a lot of my business classes were centered around, was managing an already built company. But nobody tells you how to build a company, or there's no entrepreneurship skills that are being taught in college. But not to take away from entrepreneurs, I think that's why it's so impressive what they do, because they have to figure it all out by themselves. But yeah, it's definitely eye-opening experience getting my real estate license.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And it's not to throw off on any one college or anything. I believe that there's just curriculum that's set forth, and there is a huge deficit in what they're teaching you to be successul after college. And one of those things is how to balance a checkbook, or how to buy insurance, or how to buy a home, and just think about this. You don't have to agree with this, but this is my thing. I mean, it's kind of like predatory lending. You get these kids in, you charge them all this money, and now they get educated and they've got debt. So not only are you teaching them personal finance, they graduate with debt, and they go make a $50,000 a year job. You're basically kicking them in the teeth before they even get out. But we will be right back with We're Just Saying on WSIC News.
Stay with us. We'll have more of We're Just Saying with NC Senator Vicky Sawyer after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Finally, some drier weather arriving just in time for the upcoming weekend. We'll still see scattered clouds today for our Friday, and an isolated shower or thunderstorm can be ruled out the afternoon and evening. There will likely be less of them, though, than what we've seen in recent days. High temperatures today back in those low 80s, falling into the upper 60s overnight around the farms and outlying spots. Most of us will dip down to around 70 for our Saturday. Sunshine is back with high temperatures in the mid-80s. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Looking for a large private room for your next work function? Or maybe you need a place to bring the whole family for a delicious meal? Pomodoros of Mooresville has the perfect space for your crowd. Book your next event at pomodoros.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Doby, president of North Main Financial Group. At North Main Financial Group, we move to where you need us. Investment management, insurance planning, and estate strategies. No two people are the same, so we customize our planning based upon your needs. Reach out to us at northmainfinancial.com. That's northmainfinancial.com.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Folks, here at Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, we have got the brand new 2025 Chevrolet Traverse in stock, all redesigned from front to back, top to bottom, inside and out. Come see them today. We have got a great selection of these new Traverses ready for you to take home. And also, we got great discounts on our Silverado trucks. We got the regular cab, crew cab, double cabs, discounted up to $9,000 off. Great selection, Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, right on I-40.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Do you or your friends drink hard seltzer anymore? The maker of Truly Hard Seltzer says demand flattened again last quarter, continuing the trend of the beverage's fading popularity. But the Boston Beer Company, which also owns labels such as Sam Adams Beer and Angry Orchard Cider, says sales of its Twisted Tea grew last quarter, partially offsetting the seltzer weakness. Revenue declined 4% from last year, and it's cutting its guidance, but the market still believes Boston Beer shares are up 4%. J.P. Morgan Chase has hired a robot research analyst. An internal memo viewed by Bloomberg shows the bank is giving many employees in the Asset and Wealth Management division access to its own version of OpenAI's ChatGPT. It can help with writing, idea generation, problem solving using spreadsheets, summarizing documents, and more. A reading of inflation from the Commerce Department today, the one the Fed watches most closely, shows a slip to 2.5% last month. And Wall Street likes it. Dow up 1.4%, NASDAQ and S&P up about 0.5%. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
Now back to We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicky Sawyer on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, thank you for tuning back in to We're Just Saying with Senator Vicky Sawyer and my wonderful daughter, Sydney Sawyer, who's here with us. If you want to be a part of the show, feel free to call 844-STUDIO-4 or 844-788-3464. Now, before the break, we were talking about you and a lot of your friends and where they are in life and what matters to you guys most. And we talked about inflation and affordable housing and student loan debt and all that stuff that just seems to overwhelm. And you would like to hear people talk about that more. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about those memes and the social media and things that you see and what your friends are. And when former President Trump, and there was an assassination attempt by someone who's you're almost identical to your same age, right?
Mm-hmm. In between Brady and I.
Yeah. So what was the conversation like around that with your friends when you had seen or heard about that? Or
I think that we are so desensitized because we grew up in the social media age that you just see it's just another headline on Instagram. Oh, attempted assassination. All right.
Yeah.
Could have guessed that. He pisses people off.
Yeah.
But in reality, I don't think people are grasping, like I said, because we're so desensitized, I don't think people are grasping how important things that are happening in the media actually are because it's replaced by the next story, 5 hours later.
Right.
But it's scary. I mean, you can see that obviously something's not working, regardless of which side, left or right. Something's not working. Our president now is our president now. Let's just say that.
We don't know for how long.
Yeah, exactly.
Not from assassination, but it just seems like he's a little...
Right.
Yeah.
But he's not popular, and neither is Donald Trump. So it's like what we were saying before, what my friends think of Republicans and Democrats. If you want to be a good person, you have to be a Democrat. But if you want to be a strong person and if you want to be, you know, an entrepreneur, then you need to be a Republican. Like there needs to be an in between. And I feel
Right.
like there needs to be more of a conversation about what each means
Yeah.
and less conversation about social media campaigns and more about policy.
Okay. Oh, well, good. I think that was a great summation. And we do have a caller on the line. Thank you so much for calling in. You're on with Senator Vicky Sawyer and Sydney.
Vicky?
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, I voted for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I want to get back to William that called earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to say something. I'm 64 years old. I have a granddaughter that's older than your daughter. And if you could tell, I'm from Jersey. I moved out of North Carolina because I love it here. I love North Carolina.
Good.
It's beautiful. And but I live in a very rural area. I live on the border of Rowan and Iredell, but you know, it's still in a rural part, and I love that. I love that part. I don't, you go to Mooresville to get it, but you know, I'm just, 150 is like 3 hours.
It's a
to get
nightmare.
from A
It's
to
a
B.
nightmare,
It is.
yeah.
But getting back to, I would just want to say something.
Yeah.
William's point about the women with the Secret Service, and I have nothing against women being high. I had my own job. I worked. I had my own. I grew up. I divorced my husband. I went through a lot. I raised 2 beautiful daughters. I have a granddaughter. I have a grandson. I did everything on my own. I didn't depend on a man in my life. I went and I did everything. I had my own cleaning business in Jersey. I did everything. And I'm going to tell you something. When I see the woman in the Secret Service, I agree with William on certain points, but I also disagree. Donald Trump should have been covered better. He was still in the line of fire. And at that point, they still didn't know whether it was one shooter or 2 or 3. His head was still above. If you're going to hire women, I have nothing against it.
Sure.
But hire taller women or hire. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm against that, but I'm saying that when you've seen that happen with him, he was still very visible.
It was scary.
And somebody else could have taken another headshot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at. I have nothing against, believe me, I am a woman, so I'm not going against women. And that's all I have to say. But
Thank
you know what?
you.
I love you, and I will keep on voting for you until ever.
Thank you,
forever.
ma'am.
You're welcome.
I appreciate
Love
the
you.
call, and I do.
And your daughter sounds beautiful. Good for her. And you know what? Tell her God bless her.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Okay, Vicky.
call. Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
need
Thank
it.
you for the call and support. And I think it comes down to what we were, based on those comments, kind of what Sydney and I were talking about earlier. This generation, this younger generation, I don't think they see gender or black or white or anything. They just want to see who's the best for the job. If men are just naturally stronger and taller, and they're more athletic, and unfortunately, I mean, I'm not going to say unfortunately, but fortunately, that's the only thing I can say they're better at us in.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're just
Well, historically.
they can just
Yeah.
pick things up and put them down easier than we can, right?
Yep.
It is. So it depends on what job you're going to have and what that person, it doesn't mean man versus woman. It just means about who is more capable to do the job at the time. And I think that's what and I'm actually proud of America for moving forward to that. So we don't identify as one or the other, but that we just identify as what are your strengths, whether that's a female or a male, and where you're going to be best at. So yeah. So thank you for the call. And so we were going back to, I'm not going to ask you if you support Trump or not, but what I will ask you is, like, when you and your friends are talking and they say, hey, I'm a Republican, or well, you're registered Republican, but I feel like you're more libertarian. We said earlier, maybe independent. When you and your friends are talking about that and you say that, what are their responses?
Well, first of all, so I did go to Appalachian State University for almost 3 years. So all of my friends still reside there in Boone, North Carolina.
Yeah.
So being a Republican down there is no bueno. They don't like that down there, which is totally fine. I mean, it's a liberal college town. It's fun. I had great years there. Totally okay.
Yeah.
And once again, I don't consider myself a Republican. But when you hear, if I were to go down and say that I'm a Republican, it's immediate defense mechanism. It's immediate, like, okay, so you're a tyrant, or you're trying to, you're not pro human rights. Like I just keep saying, it's so left and so right, and there's no middle. And I feel like it's just the social media or just this online war. It doesn't feel like a political campaign for the presidency. It feels like reality TV.
Yeah.
So that's why forgive me, but I can't bring myself to care. Like, I do care, obviously. I care about the nation, but every time I try to educate myself, I find some other social something, it's just like I keep saying, I just wish I knew more about policy, and that was being promoted more. So it's not, oh, you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. It's, oh, you stand for this and you stand for that for this reason. And I think that should be more of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that is a great commentary. And what you'll see in politics is that fear motivates. And unfortunately, political operatives, that means people who are running campaigns, and you see it right now. I was watching the local news out of Charlotte last night, and it was like, this guy's terrible, and that person's terrible, and this is, and you're right. I think it's very astute. There's not a conversation about what I am going to do to help this country. Like,
well, the only time that there's that conversation is when they're trying to get elected.
Right. Well, and maybe, let me step back a little bit. I think there is those conversations happening about the middle, about what people are doing and making sure that policy is getting passed, but nobody covers it. So it doesn't hit your social media feed. Right. I mean, so I think that's where we're getting, like, when I was growing up, we got our news from 3 channels. This is how old I am. We had 3 TV channels. And if the president was on, your whole night was over because you had to watch the president because there was nothing else on TV. We had no cable, and everyone got their news from the same source. So it felt like we all were singing from the same playbook, right? But now you get your news from a million sources. And you don't know what is right and what is wrong. And I think that's fair.
And the source that gets the most views and gets the most interaction online is what you see. So it could be interaction for being good or for being bad, or they're making fun of this or making fun of that.
Right.
And people are doing, I mean, not to use this word again, but predatory headlining.
Yeah.
Like, oh, guess what happened? Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
No, I think we both are. I mean, it's just, so when you're sitting there and you think about this, because I know you're a deep thinker, like, how do you fix it? Like, what would you do to fix it? Not that you haven't, and if you don't know, it's okay, because I don't think anybody knows.
I think just to promote self-discovery.
Yeah.
I think people should take it more upon themselves to learn. And also, I think in the news, there should be more publication on the middle, boring or not, you know? I was watching CNN because it's supposed to be not as biased, but I could just notice by the language being used for one topic or the other, how they stand and how they're promoting. And I just feel like I'm not a victim, because I don't like that word, but I'm actively trying to learn, and I feel like I'm getting manipulated because I don't know what's real or what's just trying to promote someone or something. Right. So I don't know. I guess I just need to take it more upon myself to discover.
I think that's a good thing, and something that gives me hope for the future, because I know, and I've obviously been around your friends. I think you all feel that way, that you really do care about your country, that you really do want to be good citizens, but you do feel, but you you know, this is the beginning of your adult life, and you want to make the good and right decisions, but you can't trust anybody because you've grown up in an age where the whole world comes at your phone, and so you're desensitized to all of it. And so now that you're trying to see a deeper meaning, it's just like, it's like ADD nightmare.
Yes.
It's just like ADD nightmare. Hey, I want to thank you all for listening to We're Just Saying. This is Senator Vicky Sawyer, her wonderful daughter, Sydney. We'll be right back for the finality? Cold medicine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cold medicine just kicked in.
The NyQuil.
I know. It's the NyQuil.
DayQuil, hopefully. Sorry.
We'll return with more of NC Senator Vicky Sawyer, and We're Just Saying after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Finally, some drier weather arriving just in time for the upcoming weekend. We'll still see scattered clouds today for our Friday and an isolated shower or thunderstorm. Can't be ruled out the afternoon and evening. There will likely be less of them, though, than what we've seen in recent days. High temperatures today back in those low 80s, falling into the upper 60s overnight around the farms and outlying spots. Most of us will dip down to around 70. For our Saturday, sunshine is back with high temperatures in the mid-80s. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live continues their free music series on Thursday. 2 months ago, Ghostface Brewing and Waves Entertainment hosted the Battle of the Bands. The champion that night, Fortune 5, makes their Langtree Live debut this Thursday, July 25th. Come on out to Langtree Lake Norman to see and hear the Battle of the Bands champion, Fortune 5, this Thursday with music beginning at 7 p.m. The Live Under the Oaks concert series continues on Friday at Brookdale Village in Huntersville. Come enjoy the music of The Highway with their dynamic and high-energy show. Red Rocks will have beverages on site, and the Brookdale restaurants are ready for your dinner service. Bring your chairs and blankets for The Highway concert at Brookdale Village on Friday, beginning at 6 p.m. The 8th annual Dog Island Jam takes place this Saturday on Lake Norman. Star from The Voice, John Sullivan presents the summer's must-see concert. Waves Entertainment will bring a stage, sound system, and LED walls to, you guessed it, an island on Lake Norman. Sully and Friends headline the concert on Saturday. Untie your boat or call your friends with boats and enjoy the Dog Island Jam concert on Lake Norman this Saturday. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway reaches the series finale. The 10-race series title night is on Tuesday, July 30th, with NASCAR night sponsored by the NASCAR Hall of Fame. See the champions crowned and the legends and bandoleros. Don't miss the next generation of racing superstars honing their skills and rising through the ranks. Gates open at 5 p.m. with the green flag waving at 6. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets, details, and information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Call now to speak with NC Senator Vicky Sawyer at 844-STUDIO-4. It's We're Just Saying on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, welcome back to our last segment of We're Just Saying. I'm Senator Vicky Sawyer here with her daughter, Sydney Sawyer. Sydney's getting ready to graduate college this year, just passed her real estate license, starting out young in life. And we talk about politics all the time, so I figured it'd be a great opportunity to bring her on. And no, she doesn't always agree with me. No, she does not. In fact, we've fussed back and forth a little bit, especially when it came to times about some social issues and when I was on the forefront. I know that was a little tough for you when I was the face of the Women in Sports bill, and also with some other transgender stuff. And it was, I think what you were saying back before, and like people would associate, you would see your mom in the newspaper you don't see a newspaper, but you would see your mom online and, here I am, the face of like this abortion legislation or this transgender legislation and all this stuff. And then you're just like, that's not my mom. I know. So we talked about that. But speaking of it, and I think we were during the break, you even mentioned even more that we have this new presidential candidate, possibly. The Democratic convention is going to come up with the VP, I guess, will be the nominee, although I'm very excited to see. I don't know what I'm more excited to watch, the Democratic convention or the Summer Olympics. It's going to be a twist tie because I think there's going to be just as much jockeying and competition in that Democratic convention hall than there is in Paris at the Olympics. Yeah. But the presumed, party that is for democracy, who actually just absolutely canned any other person to be on the Democrat primary ballot and now is telling everyone who to choose for the Republican ballot. Yeah. It's so weird, right?
So not to interrupt, but during Joe Biden's step-down speech, he says he did bring up that point that, this is a democracy and the president is not the king and you represent the people. I'm like, okay, you're representing the people, but you're telling the people what to think. So how does that work, But
I think that's great. Now, so 2 campaigns in your life have had women on the top of the ticket in the Democratic Party, and is presumably Kamala will too. But I mean, does that, we were talking about earlier, I mean, does that make a difference for you? Does it make a difference for you? I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that's more of a key point for the older generation that want to be progressive, and it is progressive to have a woman president or have women in power. But I don't view it that way. I mean, it is good as a nation to start respecting women as a presidential candidate, but I don't think that you should vote somebody in or somebody out based off their gender or their race.
Yeah.
So if, her whole thing is I'm a woman presidential candidate, okay,
But what are you going to do?
what okay, yeah, so next, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's great as a nation, but that shouldn't be a point where people are voting for her, I think.
Yeah. And she was labeled and given the task of being the border czar, the southern border, where so she was tasked very early on in the Biden administration to fix the border. But you were telling me something yesterday that you saw about the border that it was just insane.
So, speaking of affordable housing, my boyfriend just got somewhat of affordable housing thanks to my mother and her connections in Statesville. But I was hanging out with him and his roommate a couple days ago, and they were talking about a video online about a man that interviewed a border patrol officer on the Arizona border. And I thought it was satire. I thought the way that they were talking about it was just some, random guy online talking about something that, isn't credible. But they showed me the video, and I was absolutely taken aback because I didn't know, once again, so I don't know. But you hear build the wall, and I thought the wall, I just didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that so many people, they found over 140 different ID cards from 140 different countries at the border. So people from all over the world are coming to cross the border into the United States because it's that easy.
Right.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking an opinion. I'm not taking a side on that, but that's just a fact. I did not know that was happening.
Right. And it can be scary. I mean, we don't know who is coming into our nation. We have no idea. They're dropping their IDs and then they're running inside. We don't know if they're from China or if they're from Russia. And some reports are that they are. In fact, 4 months ago, just in North Carolina, there was a terrorist who was caught on the watch list in North Carolina, in rural North Carolina. And so we're walking around with folks that we have no idea who they are. You and I did something recently together that I thought was pretty cool. We got our concealed carry. And we were in a situation, we don't talk about it, but we were looking at some property or, we were in a place that we shouldn't be. And it was very comforting. He was like, Mom, you need to get your gun. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I mean, that's the truth. I mean, regardless of your opinion on guns, I am 5'4", 140 pounds, maybe. Haven't weighed myself in a while. But what am I going to do against a man that is angry or worse? You know what I mean? What am I going to do? I try to pride myself as a strong woman, but I'm not doing anything against that man. I can't defend myself.
Right.
I think it's important for women to have some kind of defense on them at all times, or at least know how to use firearms in case you're in that situation.
Yeah. You have always carried a knife.
Always.
Yeah.
Never had to use it, thankfully, but it makes me feel better.
Right. And now you have your concealed carry and you have a gun. And I mean, yeah, it does, because you're right. You are petite. And so what are you going to do if you're in a situation where someone comes after you? And now you have the education and you have the education behind you, right? So sometimes we've talked a lot about this whole thing about anybody can just carry a gun at any time, and it's called constitutional carry. And I completely understand the sentiment behind that. But when you and I went to that concealed carry class, I learned so much. Did you not?
Yes. It was eye-opening.
Yeah. Like, what is, when is it to shoot a gun? When is it not to shoot a gun? And there was so much information out there that I still probably need to go back just to learn even more, don't you think?
Yeah, I think people should educate themselves before forming an opinion on, guns one way or the other.
Yeah,
I think it's really important to have education behind it because it is helpful. I mean, I'm not taking a stance once again, but I feel so much better having a gun in my car.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, what am I going to do against a man that wants to harm me?
Right.
I can't do anything.
Right.
Right. So I think I feel safer.
Good. Yeah, and that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point of all of this, is for your personal safety and protect yourself. But there are some people out there who would say that you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Yeah, one of my friends actually doesn't like the idea that I have a gun. She says she thinks it's intrusive and aggressive for me to have a gun on me. And I was like, well, I'm not taking it to the bars where I usually see you because that's illegal and I don't do that. And I'm not open carrying, which I do sometimes think is a little bit aggressive, but they could do whatever they want. Just if I walk into a Wendy's and somebody has a huge pistol on their side, I'm like, oh, okay. But regardless, it's for safety, and it's not in support of the gun laws one way or the other, and I'm happy with my gun.
Yeah, very good. And you carry like a little revolver?
Yep, little revolver, Smith & Wesson.
Yeah, that's what, when I was shopping, that's what all the guys were telling me that we needed to get. And I tried the 9mm, and it was a little hard to deal with. So now we do both have a revolver that we work on.
And ladies, if you want to get your concealed carry, I recommend that gun, a small revolver. It's so easy. You have to be careful with it because there's no safety, but it's dummy proof.
It has a hammer safety, whatever,
Anyway, it's dummy proof. I mean, if you need to use it, you'll be able to use it. It won't get jammed.
Yeah.
It won't have any, so
I think that's really, really good that we even talk about that. Now, last little bit of time that we have left, what are you going to be paying attention to, you think, moving forward in this presidential election, right? I don't know how state politics is even going to get any kind of airplay right now. I think the entire political sphere is going to be Trump and Harris, Trump versus Harris, and what goes on. I don't even know how local politicians are even going to get their word out other than knocking on doors. But what are you going to see? Because I would assume that your vote's up in the air.
My vote is up in the air, and what I'm going to be looking for and what I have seen is that from the Republican Party and their campaigns, it seems to be more talking about what they're doing and what they're going to do through former President Trump. He's talking about himself and what he thinks and what he's going to do. And then from the Democratic Party, especially from Joe Biden, his whole arguing point is Donald Trump's the worst. They're playing offense. And I'm like, so why don't you just, let's forget about that. Let's forget about the debate. Let's forget about, you two, and just talk about why you would be a good president. I feel like that is so simple, and it's gotten so lost because people don't care. People want to see them arguing against each other, and people are voting based off other presidents' opinions of each other on such a shallow level. You know, so it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's okay, and I think that's where you are. Most people are, and do you think that your friends are paying attention to politics now? Because usually, usually. They say that folks don't really, who have swing voters, really don't pay attention to the election until like about a month or two in front of the election. So right now, that's not even where it's in my brain all the time. It's not in your friends and your groups and all that other stuff's brain at all right now, is it?
No.
Yeah. And so political operatives use that to their advantage because they will continue. So you're going to see more of the stuff that we were talking about that we don't like, even more and more and more and more.
Well, I think we just feel helpless. Like, Biden says to be representing young people and affordable housing and healthcare, which sounds fantastic as a young person getting ready to start their life. And you start seeing what health insurance costs and what all this stuff costs, and you're trying to move out, and you're like, oh my God, this is so expensive. So on one hand, I'm like, that sounds great. How much of that is true? I have no idea. On the other hand, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be, a strong, independent woman. Not that the woman part matters, and I think, conservative legislation would set me up well for that. So I'm really in between. Yeah.
I think it's well said. Sydney, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I've been dragged you in here. You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
Your dad thinks so. He just clapped and said, and so does producer.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening and allowing for my daughter to spend some time with you so you can hear what folks who are her age, and I encourage you, if you're listening to the show, talk to folks who are young and listen. Don't preach. Just listen. Thank you so much for listening to our show, and we will be back with David next week on We're Just Saying.